Okay, so this is a dedicated lesson that we're going to do on Canards or Canard foreplanes. As you can see, fitted to the Eurofighter Typhoon, the Rafale, the Saab Gripen, the Su-37 Terminator, and the Chinese J-10 and some other things. NASA had a quick go with them with one of the X-planes to see what they were going to do about the Advanced Tactical Fighter, and they decided to go without Canards and they went for vectored thrust instead. Or, you know, well, the Su-37 has vectored thrust and Canards, but it's a big heavy fighter, so it needs that amount of surface area and the extra thrust to turn it around. Right, so Canards, basic introduction to them. The Canard is this bit here, right, which is the foreplane. So you have the main plane and the foreplane. It is a plane in front of the wing, right? Now, this is not a new idea. Canards have been around. The first aircraft that was ever designed that flew was the Wright Brothers Flyer, and that had a control canard on the front. The control was a thing that gave pitch control on the front of the aircraft. Then they kind of went out of fashion. World War I aircraft, some of them had them, and then they kind of went out of fashion until we got to around about the back end of the Second World War, and the Americans designed a thing called the F15 which had canards on. And I'll talk a little bit about the advantages. Your criteria is about the advantages of canards. There's a lot of website activity out there. There's a lot of YouTube videos. Basically, people that like to talk about jet fighters get a little bit polarized. The American ones are in love with the F-22 and the F-35. They will defend that to its, you know, and stealth's super important and things like that. And then other people are saying, well, you know, it adds extra. It's not very dynamic. A Canard Delta configuration is better and things like that. So the Eurofighter and the Rafale are seen as being a generation behind the F-22 because they don't have stealth. And they were designed, really, those aircraft were designed in the 1980s before stealth became a widely recognised thing. Stealth isn't the be all and end all of everything, and you know, those aircraft are very expensive and can hold their own in a dogfight with any aircraft that has stealth capabilities. Stealth is of limited use, of no use whatsoever in a close-in dogfight because you can see them. I'm not going to go into a big long diatribe about how stealth versus canards, because if you could design stealthy aircraft with canards, you would. Okay, they have their advantages. There are clear advantages for them. We're going to go through that now. Okay. Right. Okay. So, the criteria is just about the advantages of canards. You can talk about the disadvantages if you want. Okay, now this is, you've got two aircraft. I'm going to compare two aircraft here. We've got the General Dynamics F-16 and we've got the Eurofighter Typhoon. Now the F-16 and the Typhoon, you've got your standard configuration. This has a taileron, but for now we're going to concentrate on the fact, yes, they're both all moving surfaces. So the canards and the tailerons, they both all move up and down, right? There's not like a little elevator at the back of here. There was on earlier aircraft that had canards like the Saab Viggen, okay. The Typhoon has what we call close couple canards, more on that later on. But one of the advantages of canards is, if you think about what's happening on the tail, right? So we're going to draw positive in green, so we've got some lift. That lifts the weight up, lifts the aircraft's weight up. The lift here is coming from the wing. Most of the lift on both these aircraft are coming from the wing. Now, some purists will say that the Typhoon doesn't have loaded canards because it doesn't actually support most of the lift. So pick another aeroplane with canards, don't care what it is, we'll talk about that. So the canard is providing lift in this direction. Now, the taileron, or the tail, is providing downforce in that direction. So the first advantage of canards is that and remember, in engineering and aerodynamics, you don't get anything for nothing. So I'm going to draw a negative effect on here, which is what we've already talked about. Yeah, if you've got a surface providing lift in any direction, you are producing induced drag. Okay, you can't get away from it. You can put winglets on, you can do whatever you want. But basically, if you make lift, you make induced drag. So there's a drag penalty for making lift. So that drag penalty, you've got to make lift. We're making so much lift, and however much lift you can make is how much weight you can lift. Okay, so all of the lifting surface, all of the work here has been done by the wing, and this is just providing a pivot to balance the wing out. On this system, on the Typhoon, you've got everything is being lifted up by the wing, but also the canard is helping to actually lift the weight. So if you're trying to lift a 20-ton aeroplane, you know, here you've got to create all 20 tons on this, which creates a lot of induced drag. You need all 20 tons here. Here you can split the drag between two. You can create 18 tons here and 2 tons of lift here. You've still got your 20 tons of lift going up. Yeah. And what it means is that this thing that's creating induced drag at the front, the canard, which is creating induced drag, is also providing you some lift. Whereas this thing at the back of the tail that's creating induced drag is not providing you any lift. Okay, so that's one advantage of canards, is all the lifting surfaces add towards lifting the weight of the aeroplane up. Right, other advantages of canards then. So, going back to this, we'll just get rid of all that bit there. Let's look at air combat manoeuvring or dogfighting. Right, so in a dogfight, what we've got the Typhoon and we've got the F15. The F16 wants to change direction. So this, what we're talking about now, is we're talking about, there's the back end of your F16. Your body aeroplane is over here. Yeah, make it anything you want. Yeah, right. So that's the bad guy, and this is the good guy. Right, and he wants to shoot down the bad guy. He has to turn his aeroplane or pitch the aircraft in a turn. So it's mainly the tailerons that can do all the work here. Pitch the aircraft round in the turn, create extra lift, and get inside that turn. Point the nose of his aircraft at the bad guy in order to shoot him down. Right, so with the manoeuvrability effect here, what we have is we've got the wings do most of the turning force. That's creating, remember, for our forces in a turn lesson, that's creating all the centripetal force, right, to turn the aircraft, pull the aircraft. Centripetal pulls the aircraft into the turn. What's creating that extra lift is, in order to turn, let's say that that guy shoots in front of him really quickly and he goes, whoa, there he is, and he has to go onto that dogfight, okay, and react very quickly. What's got to happen is, the F16, the taileron has to go up into that position there. It then has to create more downforce. Once it creates more downforce, the wing angle of attack increases, which creates more lift, which pulls it into the turn. So in order for the aircraft to pitch, the tail has to go down, then the nose has to go up. The Typhoon, basically, all it's got to do is it puts its canards in that configuration there. That creates an up force there, and the nose is directly controlled to go straight up. There's no dropping of the tail. Okay, so instead of the tail going down and skidding round to try and get the nose point that way, the Typhoon just points the nose that way. And the way the aircraft is balanced, because it's got artificial stability, we talked about the Typhoon, if we turn the Rafale and the Gripen, if we turn the computers off, the thing will fall out of the sky, because it is not actually a stable platform. So that, when it goes like that, right, it turns immediately, and there's not a lot of weight on these canards. The canards aren't actually producing a lot of lift, so as soon as they turn like that, immediately the aircraft will turn onto the target. Right, so that's one advantage of canards. So the first advantage is they all can be used to lift a little bit more weight, without the drag penalty of a standard tail. The next advantage is that they can produce an immediate response to a turning force, so they can immediately respond. Okay, they're at the front. And basically what canards do to aircraft is, if you think of a shopping trolley, right, with all the wheels lined up, it's quite hard to turn. You know the dodgy shopping trolleys that won't go in a straight line? That's like a Typhoon, really. It's always trying to flick out a line and things like that. And then as soon as you initiate the canards, it wants to move. Okay, so it makes it very unstable. It makes it very, very good in dogfights because it can respond very quickly. Typhoon, Rafale, whatever's got canards. Right. I'm not going to go into vector thrust at the back, which is what the Russians and the Americans have gone through, because that's not in the criteria. I'd love to spend time talking about that, but I'll have to stick to what the syllabus is for now. Okay, right. So Typhoon, immediate response. Other advantages of canards then. So what we've got is, in that, just checking I'm following my lesson plan here. Right, so I have to go back to long couple of canards in a minute. Okay, so we'll forget the F16 for now. We'll enjoy another aeroplane. I'll find out how much time I've got left. Okay, right, got another 5 minutes on that. Right, now we're going to talk about long coupled and short coupled canards. Okay, so we had a thing called, I can't even remember how this thing, it's a big Delta aircraft like that. It's got the engines are underneath. It's got engines like that, and it's got a cockpit there. and it goes like that. I think it looks a bit like that, and about here we'll have some canards. Okay, now I haven't really drawn that too well, so I'm just going to shorten that wing. The wing's back here. Okay, and this thing is the XB-70 Valkyrie, which was an American experimental bomber which actually achieved a speed of Mach 3. Okay, so it was nearly as fast as a Blackbird. Didn't go to production because it wasn't really required, because as soon as they developed this could go Mach 3, the Russians developed missiles that could go Mach 4 and a bit. Yeah, so it was kind of obsolete before it went into production, but it was a really fantastic design and it did a really good job. It had what we call long coupled canards. So long coupled canards are far away from the wing. Okay, the reason you used to have these before fly-by-wire, this is before fly-by-wire. Remember, on the back end of a wing, what we've got is we've got a downforce, we've got a downwash at the back of the wing. Remember, we talked about that, the Condor Effect. We didn't spend a lot of time on that in class. I don't even think I mentioned the word Condor Effect because I don't want to disturb people from how lift works. Okay, we talked about Bernoulli over the top and Newton at the bottom. This is a bit of Bernoulli and Newton stuff together. There's the Cutter Effect. Is it the Cutter Effect? And the Condor Effect, which is we did show this in the wind tunnel. We did show air in the boundary layer sticking to the top surface of the wing and continuing to divert once it had gone past the wing. If you remember, we saw the smoke and we saw the smoke bend. Even though it had gone past the wing, it was still bending, and that's the Condor Effect, or part of it, right? And you get this downwash after a wing. So if that's going to have downwash and it's creating lift, then this is going to have downwash. And the reason you used to have long coupled canards was that this downwash eventually becomes a little bit turbulent, and this downwash was mucking about with how the wing generated lift. So what you had to have your canards far enough forward, so even at extreme speeds such as Mach 3. Can you imagine at Mach 3 how this is going to touch that? So that's, let's say, subsonic speeds, the downwash is in this direction, and at Mach 3 it's just missing. Yeah, so subsonic, you've got it there. Normal speeds, you've got it here. Mach 3, it's just missing the front of the main wing. Okay, that's so that this downwash effect isn't mucking about with the effect on the main wing. Yeah, and even on the Valkyrie it did a little bit. Okay, so then they realised that, you know, that was a problem. Why did the Valkyrie have canards then? Why not just get rid of them? The problem is with a long fuselage like this, and if we was to superimpose Concorde on that, right? So there's Concorde there. It's got its big tail. Right. So Concorde is a pure delta, very pointy. There's your Concorde. Okay. You've got the huge wing of Concorde like that. And Concorde right at the front, right? If we just extend Concorde out a little bit, there we go. Right. Right at the front, Concorde has some really what you call strakes, which are just fixed, very small canards. So if I draw the nose of Concorde, this is how small they are. If that's Concorde's nose, they're like that. Okay, they're only tiny. Now the Russians couldn't quite get this right, and what the Russians had, they had big retractable canards that on takeoff and landing popped out that big and had control surfaces on them. And they flipped out. Well, not quite that big. They flipped out from the fuselage to give it extra pitch control on landing and things. So these are long coupled canards, right? Now long coupled canards, what they're there for, if you think about it, right? You've got a fuselage on Concorde. It's made of metal, and what it's doing is it's wobbling around. If you make a structure of metal that's supported here and isn't supported there at all, apart from air, right? It's going to do that a bit, isn't it? It's going to oscillate. It's going to wobble about a bit. Even if you get your bits of aluminium in the workshop and flex them a little bit, they're going to wobble. So what they decided to do was to put these little things on here, and this acts just like a little support on a bridge, and there's airflow going over it. It's creating a little bit of lift, right? Just a little bit of, and it's sitting as more like a fin really, yeah, and it's holding that fuselage in a straight line. Whether it does that or not, you can debate, ask whoever designed Concorde, but that's my best guess why that thing is there. Okay, right, so long coupled canards are there to give some pitch control and to give some stability to a long structure of a fuselage, and in order to basically, if you had to turn that whole big large aeroplane, the XB-70 from here, from some elevons back here, you're trying to move this bit of metal here from this bit of metal here, and there's a lot of stretch and flex in that fuselage. So if we have some control up there, yeah, then that gives you control. That's long couple of canards. I'm going to do another 15 minutes, possibly about 10 minutes on the next bit. Okay. Okay, so long couple of canards and short couple of canards. Long couple of canards are there to provide a bit of extra stability, right, and a bit of extra control for large aircraft. It was basically before fly-by-wire, they had to long couple them to get them out the way of the main lifting surface, okay, so that this could do its job properly. Yeah, so we didn't want to disturb the lift over here. Now with the advent of fly-by-wire, people realised that a short couple of canard could actually be an advantage. So at a high angle of attack, and I'm just going to draw the airflow in kind of, I'm going to draw the airflow in green, okay. If I tell you what, I'll draw the airflow in red. So let's take the relative airflow on this Typhoon to be there, okay. So this is with fly-by-wire, and I'll explain why you need fly-by-wire in a minute. So this airflow is coming up here, and it's going to get to the leading edge of the wing, and it's going to stick to the wing a little bit, but because it's a high angle of attack and we're asking it to basically change direction too quickly, too fast, at the critical angle, if you remember the critical angle, what we get, so we'll get a breakdown of the velocity gradient at this point here. Once the velocity gradient starts, let's just draw that in tiny, once it starts to spill over and the airflow at the top overtakes the airflow in the bottom in the boundary layer, we get separated flow. Okay, and that separated flow there is not going to produce any lift at all. Well, or reduce lift. And that's going to creep forward and forward and forward, right? And when it creeps too far forward, that wing is not going to produce enough lift and the aircraft is going to stall and fall out of the sky. Which isn't what you want MiG dogfight when you've got a MiG-29 behind you. Okay, so that falls out the sky, oh dear, very bad. Right, a couple of things that canards can do. So one thing that canard can do is, remember this Condor Effect, right? So the airflow over the canard, because it's at a slightly different angle, right, is deflecting down over, okay, and at certain speeds what it can do is that airflow of the canard at high angles of attack can be angled using the fly-by-wire to re-energize and give it a bit more, because what's happening here is the air's losing a little bit of velocity and it's becoming turbulent. If you then blow some laminar type organized layers of air onto it, it can keep it in layers for a little bit longer. Maybe it's only that much, maybe it's even less than that, okay, but in a dogfight that gives you a little bit of an advantage. So your F16 pilot, your MiG-29 pilot, their wing has stalled, there's nothing they can do, they are falling out of the sky. The only way to do that is to increase your thrust, points towards the ground, get your speed back over the wing. Once you've got your airflow back over the wing, you get your nice laminar flow, and then you continue dogfighting. The Typhoon pilot might give it an extra tiny little bit of an angular advantage on that, a little bit more angle of attack before the wing stalls. Yeah. So that is the airflow over the canard being used to re-energize the flow over the top surface of the main wing for a very, very small part of the flight envelope, but it gives it a tiny advantage. Okay, right, now this only works with short couple of canards. Now what we've said before, short couple of canards, this effect here, right, at subsonic speeds and some other types of speeds and in certain flight envelopes, if we just wipe all this off here, at certain speeds this becomes a problem, because this air here is trying to be laminar and trying to maintain lift, yeah, right, and it's trying to stay laminar, and then this thing's actually hitting it and making it turbulent, or messing around with it, or just basically ruining the efficiency of that wing. So what you can do with fly-by-wire is, if you know what those angles are, yeah, you can put in a very, very clever computer algorithm, and you can decide to sort of adjust that canard. If that's not producing any lift and it's just there for control, you can put that at a slightly different angle so that it doesn't do that. You just design that out using software. Okay, now I'm not going to go into exactly how the Typhoon designed that in. I know that both of those things happen, and I wouldn't like to stand on YouTube and say, oh, they definitely designed this or they definitely did that, because I didn't design the Rafale or the Typhoon or whatever. But that's what's possible with close canards and close couple of canards and fly-by-wire. I've already mentioned in class that the Chinese J10, right, has a big massive ventral stabilizer at the bottom. Now if that had very, very clever fly-by-wire, and you could do that by adjusting this rudder millions of times a second. that tells me that the J10 possibly doesn't have as clever software or as fast software as the Typhoon does. And I know that the Typhoon has fibre optic cables to enable it to, basically the software to move the flappy things faster. Yeah, that's what you need. That's the level of speed you need for this type of thing to happen. So the J10 might look like a Typhoon, but actually it looks a lot more like the original original American X-plane. I think it was the X31, right? And the X31 was basically a single-engined, I think it had an F16 engine in it, and it was an attempt at a Canard by the Americans, just to have a look and see what Canards could do for them, like a technology demonstrator that they then didn't go into production with. Right, okay, back to this. So the advantage of Canards is you can carry more, you can use them to carry weight. There's a negligible trim drag penalty with them because they're producing lift all the time, not downforce, so that helps. So you're getting something for something rather than something for nothing like conventional tails. At high angles of attack, you can modify the airflow over the Canard to re-energize the flow over the main wing, delaying a stall for a little bit longer. So it'll stall at a slightly higher angle or a slightly slower speed, which gives you an advantage in dogfights where everyone's trying to slow down and get behind each other. Right, okay, see how much recording time I've got left on the video. Yeah, we're okay with that. Right, so this bit here, so we've also said, I forgot to mention, it's got its immediate response. So because it's at the front, it's like a wobbly shopping trolley, and it immediately, as soon as you pitch it, immediately flicks up like that. Last thing about Canards, mentioned re-energizing the flow, immediate response. There's something I've forgotten and it'll come to us in about 2 seconds. Right, so yeah, so the last thing about Canard, last advantage is the Canard can be designed to stall before the main wing. Now, in certain computer games and things like that, and in real aircraft, you get a stall warning. So when the aircraft's about to stall, you'll get a and stall warning and things like that. In the middle of a dogfight, in the middle of air combat. Now, I haven't had a chance to speak to a Typhoon pilot because I started teaching this after I was, involved with them. So I haven't had a chance to talk to them yet. I keep meaning to get around to it. And the Canard, if the Canard stalls, if it's designed to stall before the main wing, that gives you a slight advantage. That means when you're pulling back on the stick mid dogfight, you're pulling 9G and your face is like, oh, and you're trying to not get killed or to launch missiles at the enemy. You might be avoiding someone trying to shoot you down while trying to shoot somebody else down. It's very chaotic. There's a lot going on, and you're pulling 9Gs. Okay, so basically, it's a really, really bad time for you. What you don't have to think about is, am I going to stall? Now, what the Canard does is it gives you kind of like an automatic limit to, that when you're pulling back on the stick, the thing that's pulling you into the turn is the Canard. So I'm just going to wipe this off for now. Yeah. So the thing that's pulling you into that turn, we've still got the laminar flow over here. And your Canard, if it's going to pull you into the turn, it's going to be in this sort of configuration here. It's going to be pointing up. Yeah. So as you can see, already, it's got a very, very high angle of attack compared to the actual wing. Yeah. Now at a certain point, the Canard's small and it's a slightly different shape, but at a certain point that Canard is going to give up. You're not going to get this downward effect anymore, and this is going to become turbulent, and you're going to lose lift over the Canard. What's pulling you into the turn? The Canard. As soon as the Canard stalls, you can't pull into the turn anymore, so it actually lessens your turn. Okay, so it gives you like a sort of ultimate limit to that turn, so you cannot stall it, right? Using the you can, if you do it violently enough, you can still stall a Typhoon. I'm not saying you can't stall a Typhoon or a Rafale. What I'm saying is, the Canard's pulling the turn, you get the turbulent air on the back of it, you get the turbulent air in the Canard before you get full turbulent air over the wing. So the wing still has a lot of laminar flow going on. Might have a little bit of turbulence back here because the airflow isn't sticking to the wing as good. But you're not fully stalled on this wing when your Canard stalls. Right, going back to a F16 or MiG-29 or whatever aircraft with the standard tail configuration. Okay, so we'll just change one of these to a standard tail. Not that I'm having a pop with the F-16, it's a very, very fine airplane, does the job, and it's a really good dogfighter. I wouldn't let it go up against one in a dogfight. But here we go. So, this wing here is, remember, doing all the work. Your F-16, your taileron. Now, this does have a little bit of advantage as well. As you see on this one, the taileron is at a less angle of attack. Yeah, so the wing is going to get the stall before the tail. Now this gives you more control. You know, when you actually stall, you can put the taileron the other way and you can back off a little bit. But the pilot has to react to do that. He has to let off on the stick. This thing is like, the pilot cannot pull that aircraft any more into the thing, you know, because well, it can, because remember on the Canard, yeah, you have the flaperons at the back. So the flaperons, the Canard will be in that position, the flaperons will be in that position, okay, and they will be producing some deflected air up there, which is going to produce some downforce there. So it's going to do the same job as that. It's another advantage of the Canard if you couple up with flaperons. The flaperons in pitch on the F-16 are not doing anything. They're just here. They're just in the standards configuration there. So all of the pitching is being done by the taileron. Okay. So with the Typhoon, you've still got control at the back. You cannot stall. You can still pull into the turn a bit more using the tailerons the flaperons if you want to. Okay. The F-16 is in the stall. This hasn't stalled yet, but the wing has stalled. This is going to fall out the sky, okay, if the pilot doesn't do something. The Typhoon, the pilot's pulling back on the stick, the Canard stalled, it's not letting them go any further into that turn, so it's kind of an not an artificial, but it's kind of a limit to the turn that the pilot doesn't have to think about. He knows, or she knows, that she's pulling as hard as she can at that turn. If the target's not there, you can't pull any harder. It's going to be, you know, impossible to get that angle. They're going to have to try something else. Whereas the F-16 can pull into turn, pull into turn, pull into turn, and all of a sudden stall warning, yeah, the wing stalled, you've got to disengage from that turn. Is it an advantage? Is it not an advantage? I'd be interested to hear from some pilots. I'm not interested in hearing from F-16 pilots that love their aeroplanes and are just going to defend it to the hilt. Okay, I'm not interested in listening to Typhoon pilots that love their aeroplanes that can defend them to the hilt. I'm interested in hearing from, that's my kind of theory on it. Yeah, it might be wrong, but that's how I understand it. Yeah, it gives you a slight advantage, and it is only slight because we're talking about the difference. Maybe it's like 1 degree in angle of attack or something when you get that half a second kind of extra thing. So just to boil all that down is, at high angles of attack, the Canard can be designed to stall before the main wing, which gives you a slight advantage. Yeah, it's an advantage of Canards. Okay, close couple Canards. Like I say, the disadvantage of close couple Canards is this interference with the main wing can be either a disadvantage. It was for many years. That's why I didn't see any close couple Canards. It was impossible to design aircraft where the Canards would react quick enough. The pilot couldn't react fast enough to keep them in a straight line. With the advent of fly-by-wire, that's now possible. That's why you see them on the 4th generation fighters like the Rafale and the Typhoon and the Gripen. Okay, hopefully there's loads of information on Canards there. There's lots out there. Don't be frightened to research stuff. If you're not sure on stuff you've heard on the internet and you think, you know, what's Steve's take on this, send an email and I'll say, yeah, that's a good thing to put in, that's a bad thing to put in. And I'm not after reinvent the wheel here. If you find a couple of advantages of Canards, a few advantages of tailerons and a few advantages of flaperons, and you stick them on and they're accurate with the type of Canards that we're talking about, or tailerons or flaperons, and you know what you're talking about. Basically, M3 is, do you know what you're talking about? Yes, tick. Okay, so don't overreach yourself. Get a couple of advantages that you're solid, that you understand, that you can put into a drawing format. Look at the online tutorials for drawing stuff. You can get a side view of a Typhoon if you want. Yeah, use a base image and draw your own stuff on like this if you want to do that. Whatever you want, however you want to present your criteria to me, that's fine, but try and do it electronically. Try and do it, you know, and please don't just, I will not be marking things where I get a picture, there's nothing on there, right, and people go like that, right. You're not going to get a merit criteria for telling us where a taileron is and that it's a taileron. I need to know the advantages and how it works. Same with the canard. Okay, so by all means tell me what canards and tailerons are as an introduction, and then show me a picture of an aircraft and say this is a taileron, this is a canard, and you can do everything else written down. Yeah, but you've seen how many drawings I've had to draw to explain it to you. Think about merit point 1, where people just handed in written explanations without the drawings, and it wasn't up to the standard. Okay, so if you're going for merit point 3, we need drawings, we need written explanations coupled together so that you can give a full understanding that you know what you're talking about. Okay, right, that is the whole. Okay, so this is the most sort of effective way of doing this with the voiceover. I tried doing a non-real-time voiceover, so the audio and everything was a bit better, but the actual, you know, it was just too difficult to do. Right, so we're going to compare a couple of different aircraft. We're going to do 15 minutes on this, and this is just to put tailerons and stabilators into perspective. So this aircraft is the F104 with a stabulator, as we've already seen. Okay, as you can look at the wings, the advantage of this game is I can look around the airplane a bit better. Right, so on the wings you can see it's got a very low aspect ratio wing, yeah, which should mean it should roll. There's not a lot of wing in the way when we want it to roll, so let's count the roll. Okay, we're counting in seconds, and we're going to go rolling a full 360, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, right, just on about 4 seconds there to get all the way around. Okay, so that's 4 seconds rolling with, as you can see, the roll is the standard ailerons, low aspect ratio wing, 1950s type aircraft with an all flying tail. So just put the side view of that, so you can see the stabulator moves up and down together, but it is not a taileron because it doesn't move one up one down. So the only thing rolling this aircraft is the ailerons, as you can see there. Just give you a bit better view of the ailerons there. Alright, right, and that's the F104. Let's move forward in time then to the F4 Phantom. Right, now the F4 Phantom, okay, a lot bigger aircraft, larger twin engine aircraft, and we'll compare the roll rate of the F4 with without tailerons with the roll rate of the F15. Now this is just a game, not everything on it is perfectly rendered and not everything's true on it, but it's just to give you a kind of an idea of the advantage. So if we then go to the F4 Phantom, right, this again has a stabulator, right? So small aircraft, low aspect ratio wings. Now this aircraft has differential spoilers on each wing to help it roll. Okay. Just notice I'm not getting the whole actual. There we go. Try that a bit. Right, now what we've got here is, we'll try and get away from the sun a little bit so you can see it a bit better. Right, so if you look at the differential spoilers on the wings, ailerons on the wings, still standard ailerons on the wings, but they've got those little spoilers, just that there, the little spoilers just popping out the wings there. You see that? Try not to crash. Right, so the little spoiler's going to pop out here. Just spoil lift on that wing and drop that wing. See it? Right, now twin engine aircraft, quite a big heavy fighter interceptor aircraft, about 300 knots. Count the roll again, so we're going to go roll, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 4 and a bit, just over 4, so there we go. Right, and if you notice it has a stabulator moving up and down together, but when we roll the tail is not helping the roll. Okay, the tail is not moving during the roll. Okay, so it doesn't have tailerons. Right. And that took us, on both those aircraft, it took us 4 seconds to roll. Let's look at what happens when we put tailerons on the aircraft. And to compare it with something, so we're trying to keep everything as similar as we can. Right, we're going to use the F15 Eagle. Okay, so we'll go for the McDonnell Douglas F15 Eagle, which is very similar to the Phantom. It's a large twin engine aircraft. Okay, it was the thing that basically replaced the Phantom in Air Force service, right? And it has 2 big tailerons at the back. and we'll see how quickly it rolls. Now it's a big heavy fighter, so, and it's got two big vertical stabilizers which are going to sort of make it roll slightly slower because they're going to get in the way, right? So if we count the roll now, yeah, we'll just go straight forward for a roll there, and we'll go 1, 2, 3, just over 3, right? So it rolls, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and it's basically rolling all the way around in 3 seconds. That means the advantage over that. So if I'll just show you the tailerons moving there. You can see the tailerons moving on. This is the bit we're talking about. Yeah, 1 up, 1 down. Yeah, and then again the other way, 1 up, 1 down. Try and get away from the sun so it shows you a bit better. Some blue sky. There we go. And they should move as you go slower. I'm just slowing down now. There's the air brake at the top. Yeah, you should see the tailerons move a bit more. So the slower you move, the more the tailerons have to move. Because remember, lift, one of the 5 factors affecting lift is velocity. So with less velocity of air, you need more deflection, you need more angle of attack to get the same change. You see, it's still got standard ailerons, right? So it's still got ailerons to help it roll, but it's got the tailerons to give it a bit of oomph, right, to get it round. As we see, check the roll rate again, 300 knots, exactly the same as the Phantom, and 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 and a little bit, 3.2, yeah. Not quite 3 seconds, but not 4 like the Phantom. Right. The other thing I want to show you while I'm on here, air brakes. Okay, so this has got a very, very typical air brake. When I pull the air brakes in, you'll see there's that big, massive. It's got a hydraulic actuator, yeah, which just pushes up in the airflow, and it pushes a plate out in the airflow and just causes loads of form drag. Yeah. Doesn't affect lift on the wing. So we'll go for the top view. Yeah. Here we go. So you can see, just see it there, it's not affecting the lift on the wing at all. Yeah, better view than that. There we are. So it just creates drag. Alright. Right then, so now we're moving from this, we're going to move on to talk a little bit about canards. So as you can see, this aircraft here, I tell you what we'll support we'll go for the F16. So we're going to the F16 now, which is the only reason I'm switching to the F16 is it's very similar to the Typhoon, and we'll compare them, the two of them. They're very lightweight aircraft, and we'll just do a bit of that. So we'll swap to the F16. So this is not equipped with. This is equipped with a taileron and flaperons. The whole back surface of the wing is a flaperon. And let's have a look what this does. Okay, so what we're expecting is I haven't timed how long this takes to roll yet. So I could be. Right, let's go for a roll then straight away. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, nearly 4 there. So that's not quite as good as the F15 for some reason, but it should be. That's how it go. We'll go again, and we'll go on 1, 2, 3. Yeah, probably about the same as the F15, 3 and a bit, just under 4. So again, big tailerons, lots of surface area, right? And the flaperons, the whole surface of the back of the wing is acting there, as you can see. So you've got roll from flaperons and tailerons, and when we slow down, like you saw in the flaperon lesson, yeah, you'll see that they come down together as a dedicated set of flaperons as well. Okay, so the F16 rolls in about 3 and a bit seconds with standard tailerons. Let's look at how it pitches though, because that's what we're interested in to compare it with the Eurofighter Typhoon. Now I'm just going to try and hold this with my thumb in position. You see, on the lesson previously we said that this is creating downforce. Okay, so in order for the aircraft to pitch up, this has to go down first, then the aircraft pitches up. Okay, so you'll see that this happens now. There you go. So the tail goes down first. I'll do that again. So in your dogfight, you're sitting there, and all of a sudden you want to turn the aircraft, and your tail has to go down before your aircraft is going to pitch up. Alright. Now you can see, I'm just going to go for a loop there. Right, I'll just show you something else while we're on. Sorry about this. Right, now if we go to high G turn, yeah, so we're going to dogfight. The body's over here somewhere. Want to fire with missiles off at them or fire with guns. Okay, high G turn, and we'll go for high G turn now. Yeah, you can see that cloud forming on the top wings, the low pressure, yeah, and the aircraft stalls. Now on this game, it doesn't differentiate between a Canard aircraft and a non-Canard aircraft. The game's not that clever. Okay, but just to show you what would happen is, in a turn like that, you can see the speed on the left hand side. If you can make it out on your screen, it's now 400 knots, 380. Yeah, speed's dropping down. On the aircraft that I'm pulling on now, what would happen first is the wing would stall before the taileron. Okay, so the wing would stall before the taileron, stall like that, and then you'd have to go down, get your speed up before you could re-enter the dogfight. With the Typhoon, what would happen? Yeah, it doesn't mimic this. We're flying through a bit of cloud there, sorry. Right, with the Typhoon, what would happen is, yeah, as you went into the turn like that. In fact, we'll do it with the Typhoon. We've got a Typhoon on the screen. We might as well do it with the Typhoon. So remember, just so we can compare them together, go for the side view of the aircraft. Yeah, if we look at that, taileron there, yeah, when we want to pitch the aircraft up, taileron has to go down before the nose of the aircraft moves up. Okay, so you're sliding the back end down before the nose turns. And in a turn, again, the taileron has to move this way before the nose will move that way. You want there's the body, you want the nose to go that way, the taileron's got to go that way to pitch it up. Let's compare that with a Canard aircraft. Right, so based on the thing that I had before, we'll go for, I don't have a Rafale on here because I've got to save up for it. So it's a Typhoon or a Gripen, but we'll go for the one, the Typhoon. Okay. Because it's the one that we've talked about in the lesson. So there's the Canards, good view of the Canards as we go past, yeah, on the front of the aircraft. It does have little streaks on the fuselage as well, which I'll point out when it comes on the screen there. Similar to Concorde, and it's to provide stability. It's basically for the pilot to step on as they go in the cockpit, but it's there for an aerodynamic purpose as well, to stabilise the front fuselage. Now this Typhoon is modelled, so if you look at that, if you look at the Canards, they are actually helping the aircraft roll. Now the Typhoon, I believe, was originally designed for that to happen, but the problem was, just get you on a better view of it, on this way, that this part of the fuselage is made out of carbon fibre and this is made of titanium, and putting a lot of aerodynamic force on that, they were worried that over time it was actually going to crack the fuselage or cause stress fractures in the fuselage because of the amount of force of the air pushing on that, yeah, when it moves up and down, yeah, and they were worried about that causing problems. So, and basically if you look at the flaperons on the back of the Typhoon, if you watch this now, up and down, yeah, it's got huge flaperons there. So where that, obviously I've done my best to make that a Geordie Typhoon. Okay, they're called invasion stripes. But that whole section there is all surface area that's going to be used for roll control. So if I just go nice and slow now, yeah, there we go. You can see that all that using for roll control. So really, the Typhoon doesn't need the Canards to. If the Canards are controlling pitches, we're going to see now. Yeah, so it Canards pitches up and pitches down. It doesn't need that extra roll control. Now what's happening different to the F16, yeah, we'll do a roll with the Typhoon, 300 knots, and we'll go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so just on 3 seconds again, yeah. Okay, ready, and again we'll go 1, 2, 3. Right, basically just under 3 seconds I think that was, and again 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's just kicking on just less than 3 seconds. Yeah. Or just on 3 seconds. So doesn't give you much. The Canard doesn't give you much of an advantage in roll, but in pitch, if we look at pitch, if we look at from this side where you can see the aircraft, now instead of the tail having to go down to get the nose up, we just straight away lift the nose up. I'll get a better view of that. Sorry, I messed that up a little bit. Sorry about that. Here we go. Nice level flight. I'll spin the aircraft around this way. and as you can see, 1, 2, 3, you see the Canard pitch up a little bit, and there we go, just pitches the aircraft up. Okay, bring it back down again. It doesn't pitch up that much on this aircraft. Ready, and there we go. Yeah, it just lifts the nose straight up. Okay, now in a dogfight, what that's doing is now, right, so the bad guy's that cloud over there. Okay, so you get on and you just pull straight back, and the nose, see how quick that was? Yeah, so the nose, instead of having the tail having to sink and get the nose round, there's the bad guy, and just straight away, bang, and we put the nose on target. Yeah. The disadvantage of the Canard is it tends to be in flight. I can just simulate this a little bit. If you look at the aircraft in flight, if you look at that Canard there moving up and down, it's actually doing that in flight to modify the airflow over this wing millions of times a second to make, like, give you like an option airflow. It's not even moving that much, you can barely see it moving in flight on a real Typhoon. Okay, right, there we go, that's the Canards on the Typhoon. Thanks for watching. I'll do a little bit more on that in a minute, hang on. Right, just second part of this video then, I don't know if you can see it on that screen, there's a little streak here on the back which is just there, which is an extra aerodynamic surface just to give a bit more stability to that fuselage. The Canard itself, you can see from the Typhoon, it's got a slight anhedral to it, it points down slightly, and the idea of the Canard is that it will stall before the main wing. So as I was saying before with the F16, when it's going to a turn and you turn, the Canards are going to pitch up and pull into the turn like that. So I'll try and keep it a nice steady turn for you. There we go, right, and you can see the wing wants to stall. The Canard's going to be re-energizing that wing a little bit, re-energizing the flow over the wing with the downwash off the Canard. Yeah, and when we pull into high G turn, now on this game the Typhoon stalls like anything else. Okay, but in the real Typhoon, what would happen is you would get to this point here, right? Now if we watch, I'm going to stall it now. Ready? There, and it stalls exactly the same on the game as the F16. Now in reality, what the Typhoon might do is it gets to here, and it gets to the point where the main wing's going to stall. The thing that's pulling it into the turn is these flap bones at the back are fully deflected. The Canard's also pulling it into the turn. Now when the Canard stalls, the pilot is going to know that they can't turn any, it doesn't matter what he does, he can't turn onto that target any tighter. Yeah, the Canard's stalling and it won't let him turn any tighter. Okay, so what you probably get is this sort of effect here, where you just get this kind of like, every time he tries to pull into it, the Canard stalls. Yeah, like that, and then you get a maximum turn rate through the design of the aircraft, and the pilot doesn't have to think about the maximum turn rate, they just keep turning, right? They just keep turning as hard as they can, the aircraft looks after the rest of it. It's difficult to get anyone to comment on that because, you know, I'm not in regular contact with Typhoon pilots anymore, and I don't want to bother them and things, but next time I do speak to one, I'll check on that information. That's kind of a theory I have. It might be wrong, it might not. Unfortunately, when I was working on them, I was too busy, like, basically fixing them, didn't worry about how it performed in a dogfight. I was more worried about whether the systems were going to work or not. Okay, right. So there you go, Canards from the side, all we can see as well. Remember, this is a lifting surface, whereas on a standard aircraft that would be creating downforce, which wouldn't be added to lifting all these weapons and fuel and everything else off the ground. Now actually that's a bit of a misnomer, because on the Typhoon the Canard is not what you call loaded, as it, that doesn't mean it doesn't have bombs and stuff on it. It means that the airflow over this isn't actually creating a lot of lift, it's mainly there for control. Right, all the lift's being created by the wing, but that also means that it's not creating a lot of drag. Okay, that's why the Typhoon has a true ability called super cruise, which once we get rid of all this hardware off the wing, yeah, or most of it, you'll find that the Typhoon would be able to cruise at Mach 1, above Mach 1 without using its afterburners. Okay, right. Okay, so thanks for watching. If you've got any questions on the thing, technical issues there. Right, thanks for watching. If you've got any questions on the Typhoon, on things like that, or on Canards, email us. Just looking at one other aircraft for Canards. And then hopefully, you know, that there's the advantages. You know, I've gone through it in a lesson, and I've gone through it on this like video commentary as well. So any questions, email us. And please, oh, one last thing, if you're watching this video, please can you, if you've subscribed, if you have your subscription settings on YouTube set as private, I can't see if you've subscribed. I've got 50 I think I've got 56 subscribers on YouTube at the moment. Okay, I should have 64 or 63, and that's 56 including the second years, so really I should have 107. Okay, you are all asked to go onto YouTube and subscribe. As long as you're watching the content, that's okay. But what I'm doing is I'm marking you as present for the lesson if you've subscribed to YouTube and you've left a comment, or if you've sent me an email, or if you've handed an assignment in that week, or some sort of contact with you. Yeah. So I'm not marking you in if I've had no contact whatsoever. And if you just subscribed to YouTube and you haven't commented or anything, and I can't see your subscription because you've got your subscription settings as private, then I don't know that you've subscribed to YouTube. Okay, now you don't have to change your subscription settings to public if you don't want to. All you have to do is let me know that you've subscribed on YouTube via email, and then I'll put you down as that. Okay, so I can fill in the blanks. I've got 56 subscribers. I can only see 16 of those names out of on my screen. Out of those 16, that's you know, that's 40 that haven't that are hidden from us. Okay, and I can't mark you as present or engaging with the course still unless you let me know about that. Okay, last bit then. So we've got the gripping. Now the gripping, the canards on this only go up and down, and they do not help with roll. The gripping just uses its flaperons at the back for roll. See, it's got some flaperons that actually blended into the fuselage there. Yeah, these quite hefty looking things there. Yeah, and if you look when we slow down, the air brakes open up at the back. And around the front of the aircraft you've got the leading edge slats that we talked about before. So see, that leading edge is just going to come up there. Yeah, so high speed, low drag, and then when you want to go very slow, now you can see the gripping as well. If you can just hold steady, it's got these little streaks here. Yeah, similar to where the Typhoon is, just to modify a little bit of airflow. Okay, but the reason I want to show you the gripping is because it's got very close couple of canards. You can see how close they are to the main wing. Now this is more along the lines of the Rafale. Okay, the Typhoons are a little bit further forward. The grippings are higher up. Instead of having ahedral, they've actually got dihedral on the canards. So you can see that there. It's a good thing there. Yeah, so there's the canards moving. I should have done that in the Typhoon. That's a better view, isn't it? Okay, and they do not help with roll. They are just for pitch. Okay, which I'm told by someone that's still working on Typhoon that the Typhoon just uses them for pitch as well. This game's a little bit wrong because on the Su-37 Sukhoi fighter, they've got the canards going in the wrong position when they have the roll. Okay, right, so there's the canards controlling pitch, and like I say, the advantage of the canards on the gripping is that when it pitches up like that, it immediately picks the nose up instead of having to sink the tail and pick the nose up. It just gives it a little bit of a tiny advantage. It's not much. You know, to say that the Eurofighter pitches a lot faster than, or the gripping pitches a lot faster than the F16 is wrong. Okay, just launch some rockets off there. Okay, right, thanks for watching. So that's the Saab gripping. You can use that as an example for canards as well if you want. And as you can see, when the canards pitch up, the flaperons at the back, they go up. The front edge of the canards go up, so they make a curve like that. Okay, and that pitches the aircraft. There's a slight effect when you pitch down over, right? That with flaperons, because you're making the airframe more curved. Yeah, I will leave that for now. It may just confuse you. Right? Any questions on that? Let's see the emails. Good luck with Merit Point 3. I'm expecting, I've done a lot of effort into teaching the stuff. I'm expecting some good stuff with diagrams and things and explanations. Anything like that, that's kind of like a half effort. you won't be getting merit point 3. Okay, especially not in the current climate when we're teaching you remotely. I've spent hours and hours and hours making videos to try and teach you this stuff. If you just hand us in something that says that's a Canard and you want a merit for that, you're not going to get a referral on it. I'm marking it on effort. Okay, right. So good luck with that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Maverick, are we supposed to be this low? Roger, Trigger. Just a walk in the park, Krasansky. Yeehaw! Just like the Marvel post-credit scene, Maverick. I just had some battery to use up. Ha 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 ha! Woohoo! You're not happy unless you're doing Mach 2 with your hair on fire. I feel the need for speed. Oh, I feel the need not to hit the ground. Oh, someone's flying one and shoot him down. Woohoo! Oh, there's a helicopter. Native Ghost Rider, the pen is full, it's time to buzz the tower. Yeehaw! Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later on. Bye!